Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Crowd here welcoming the Boston Bruins to the stage. They get set to make the 30th.
First of all, I'd like to thank the city of Vancouver, the Vancouver Canucks for their hospitality. Shout out to Maple Ridge. I'm going to have a fellow British Columbian, Dean Malcock, select our pick.
Proud to select John Beecher.
2019
There
draft
you go.
in Vancouver. For people just tuning in and wondering why we're playing that, our poll question has to do with the rivalry between the Canucks and Bruins, who play tonight, 1 versus 2 in the NHL overall standings, and if there's still some hatred there. 2011, you might say that's a long time ago. 2019,
There's evidence right there.
Not that long ago. Poor Cam Neely was trying his best,
Evidence.
his best to get some applause.
Evidence for Ryan right there.
Shout out to Maple Ridge got booed.
Booed.
So did Dean Malcock, who's also, like Cam, a British Columbian.
Absolutely.
We bring in now, speaking of proud British Columbians, John Shannon, the pride of Oliver, NHL analyst, co-host of the Bob McCowan podcast. You're laughing. Do you remember that moment, John?
I do. I was there. Yeah. I was there at the draft. So you couldn't help forget. I still think they're probably booing Cam for being traded.
Yeah, it was his fault.
Yeah, it was his fault.
Well, he didn't play very well in Vancouver compared to what he did in Boston.
Yeah.
Tom Watt.
Well, there was ice time was a bit of an issue there. And
you know what? It's funny you say that. I used to travel with the Canucks every once in a while, and I was on a bus when Cam was playing, and Tom, the team bus stopped outside Calgary Airport and pulled off to the side, and Tom went to the front of the bus and reamed everybody, and Cam was at the top of the list. And there was a few of us on the broadcast side on the bus we were in shock. But Tom could not hold his temper anymore, and he just reamed the whole club.
I'm sure the Canucks the Canucks certainly would like to have that moment back.
Yep.
Man, where were camera phones back then?
Yeah, no kidding.
Okay, John. Let's go here first. Canucks in Boston. I think most of us, not all of us, agree that there's still whenever these two teams get together. But let's show some respect to the Boston Bruins here, if you and Vancouver fans don't mind. They lose Krejci, they lose Bergeron, they lose all sorts of people, and they continue to win. What's their secret?
Well, I'll tell you what. There is a Bruins way. And it began long before Cam Neely got there. It was, I think, something that Harry Sinden probably instilled in the hockey club. I think Don Sweeney, who's the general manager there now, does not get enough credit for being an architect of a franchise that is as robust as Boston is for as long a period of time. I think a lot of us shook our heads when they signed Linus Ullmark to a free agent contract, and all he did was win the Vezina Trophy last year. Sweeney's not afraid to make change. Bruce Cassidy was a pretty successful coach in Boston, but Don Sweeney felt he had to make a change, and then went and found Jim Montgomery to be that guy. Sweeney's the glue that doesn't get any attention when you talk about what this hockey club is like, and I will not be surprised to see Don Sweeney make a few moves before March 8th in order to get the Bruins a little closer to the Stanley Cup this year.
All right, the big trade, John, we haven't talked to you about in Vancouver. Kuzmenko on his way to Calgary, Lindholm here. The Canucks identified him early, went after him, and they got their guy.
I mean, listen, this is the rich getting richer, Rick. He's everything you need. I mean, that game in Carolina, he played more ice time than any other forward for the Canucks. You know then that he's fitting in well already. The fact that he scored 2 goals was a bonus. He's a perfect fit for this hockey club. He can play on the wing. He can play at center. Based on what you see, I'm not even concerned about the future. I think that this management team will find a way to give Lindholm exactly what he needs in order to stay long-term in Vancouver as well. Tell you what, it was a trigger for everything that will happen between now and March 8th, because everybody's now saying, oh my goodness, how good is Vancouver?
John, all eyes are going to move over to Calgary. You got Chris Tanev. He's got a ton of teams after him right now. And you got Noah Hannafin. That decision could come down any day. Craig Conroy is you got to believe his cell phone is ringing off the hook. All eyes on Calgary right now. They got some big UFAs that could possibly move.
I think you better add Jacob Markstrom to that list too.
Yep.
Rick, simply because there are going to be teams that need quality goaltending down the stretch. And the Flames are deep at that when you consider Vladar has done as well as he has, and Dustin Wolf deserves an opportunity to play on a regular basis in the NHL. So Markstrom, Tanev, and Hannafin. I still think in the back of my mind Hannafin signs, but there's no guarantee of anything in this day and age. And this is bigger than Craig Conroy. This to me is ownership stepping in and saying, what are we doing? Where are we going? We have a new arena coming in 5 years. We need to be focused on being good then. Let's try to do the rebuild now, if you want to call it a rebuild. And we have a few good foundational pieces, but there's an opportunity to improve our allotment of draft picks. There's an opportunity to get some younger players like Kuzmenko that can be quality Flame players for years to come. So this is a very interesting time. You're right, for Craig Conroy and the senior management and ownership in Calgary.
John, Arizona, the Coyotes. 3 options on the table for the Coyotes' future in the desert. That's being reported. We're hearing about an announcement from the National Hockey League regarding the future of that franchise. What are you hearing, and what do you expect from that announcement? And will the city of Salt Lake be brought up?
Well, I certainly think that the Salt Lake option is there if it needs to be there. Mm-hmm. I think that was kind of the message when Ryan Smith wrote his open letter to everybody about, we're open for business. There are some challenges still in Arizona. How long is it, if they do get real estate, how long is it going to take to build an arena? I really think there is a level of impatience from the other owners in the NHL. Remember, this is a revenue expected team. Their revenue sharing has been high for a long period of time. And at a certain point, owners get a little impatient giving other owners money if they don't see improvement. And it's difficult. I mean, the hockey club aside, the business point, it's hard to see improvement when you're sitting in a 4,600-seat arena. And that's going to be the real challenge between now and whatever announcement there is about the future. I also think there's some impatience from the commissioner because he's done an amazing job in protecting this ownership group for a long period of time. But some days, I'm sure he's said enough is enough. And
John, TV ratings for you are Mr. Television.
Yes.
TV ratings
Yes.
for the All-Star game in Toronto were way up for the skills, for the game itself. How come?
Well, they were up in our country. They were down in the United States.
Yeah.
So first of all, I think that there was a real push by the NHL and by the players on the new reworked skills competition, and I think there was some excitement based on the $1 million prize and what I would describe as the simplicity of what Friday night was all about. I think there was more curiosity about Friday than there was Saturday. So I think that helped. And the other aspect of it is, this is Canada. We still are a huge driver of interest and revenue in the National Hockey League, even though there are only 7 teams here. And I think that there's a little more interest in anything that happens in our country than if it happens in St. Louis or Chicago or New York or Florida. And I just think that's a fact of life. I mean, Rogers, tell you what, give Rogers credit. For the last 4 weeks, Rogers did an amazing job of promoting the All-Star Weekend, whether it be through their own products or whether through their hockey broadcasts. But they got the title and they used it. And I mean, the Darryl Sittler, Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid commercial, which I was tired of by game time, but I think I think they did it the right way, and they deserve some credit for pushing it. and they got the numbers to correspond to that.
Okay, and
By the way, more Canadians. By the way, more Canadians.
Yes.
More Canadians watched the All-Star game, our country of 40 million, than watched in the United States, the country of 340 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought they did a very, very good job.
Yeah.
Very, very quickly, John, we're out of time here, but Bell Media selling off regional radio stations, more layoffs today, more layoffs to come. What goes through your mind when you hear that news again?
Well, you know, I really feel bad for all the people around on the news side across the country. They're the ones that got hit hard this time. I can remember as a kid watching the noon news on BCTV. That was a big thing. The fact that won't exist anymore is sad. Here's the thing, though, Rick and Donnie. You guys and lots of people like you have done an amazing job filling the void, filling the gap, and that will happen through will and determination and creativity. There's not any less news now than there was yesterday. There's not any less sports now than there was yesterday. Somebody will fill the void. And perhaps it's people as creative as you guys. And I'm not blowing smoke. You guys have done an amazing job. And this TV station has done an amazing job at it. And you deserve some credit. So as much as we're lamenting that world hurting, and they are hurting, there will be somebody to fill the void, just like you guys filled a void on the West Coast when it comes to sports.
Well said, John. And the same goes for yourself and the people at the Bob McCown podcast. Appreciate it so much.
The people?
Yeah.
The people. We have such a huge staff.
Two guys.
As far as broadcasting goes these days, that is a huge staff, John.
Hey, have you seen? John, have you seen?
Case of smoke and mirrors, boys.
John, you haven't been to a radio station in this country lately. There's not many staff. There's not many staff left anywhere.
By the way, when Bell says they sell stations, the three of us had enough money to buy one of those.
Oh yeah. Hey, That's it. Pennies on the penny.
Thanks, John. We're going to talk some more about it next. Thanks so much, John. We'll talk to you next week.